So health insurance premiums, we talked about that last episode. Those are outrageously expensive and going through the roof. Not just health insurance. It's also now in P&C, the personal insurance rates, and also commercial or business insurance costs also exploding across the board. Let's just put some numbers to this. And we've got a chart that we're going to show up. But the average annual cost in 2025 up to $3,500 for home insurance. Now, this is average. So our entrepreneurs are obviously paying much, much more than this. But really, it's a relative statement because if you look at this in 2021, $2,500. So that's almost a 50% increase in just 4 years in the cost of home insurance premiums across the board. So you look at this, 20% in the last 2 years. Louisiana, an average increase of 27% year over year. California, they had to remove some of the caps that they put in place because of the fires. 21% year over year average increase in home insurance. There's some big, big problems here. So, Jim, how are you going to fix this?
Wow. I can't fix the weather, certainly.
Yeah.
It does make me think about, as people make decisions where they want to live.
Yep.
This actually probably might be a part of the conversation about where you live, whether you can get the kind of insurance you need. But I think of how the whole landscape has changed, not just pricing, but also positioning. What I mean by that is I have a friend that runs a huge P&C agency here in Arizona, and he said that consumers still think that they're in the driver's seat when it comes to property and casualty insurance. So in other words, hey, I get to decide who I use, whether it's State Farm or Chubb or whatever. I get to choose who I use, and they're lucky to have me. So that's flipped. Now the insurance companies are looking at you and me, looking at the consumer and saying, are you good for us? Because if you're not good for us, we're just going to fire you.
Yep.
And then you've got to try to get coverage once all the other insurance companies know that you've been fired. And so what that means in reality is he tells me, do not put any small claims. You wait for the big claim. Wait for when there's water damage that costs $300,000 or your house burned down or something. Do not put in the windshield. Don't put in the $2,000 fender bender, because you will go on that list of, hey, pretty soon we might fire these people. So now it's flipped. So now we have to think it's a privilege to have auto and home insurance, and then make sure we manage it in a way. And I think part of that is higher deductibles, because you're not going to want to put in claims unless it's a really big number. But yeah, the whole game has changed, and unfortunately things just get more and more expensive.
Yeah. And I actually have an example of this, just talking to an entrepreneur client 2 weeks ago. They have 3 tickets that have happened in the last 18 months, and they had a big water claim, and they are getting dropped, or they're not getting dropped. But if we were looking, he was frustrated. We were trying to see if we could move. There was no market at all. So the fear was, don't get dropped, to your point. And then there's going to be a big increase in premiums. But to your point, there's no market there and we're seeing this a lot in, like, for example, in Colorado where the forest fires are, California, Florida with the flooding. It's hard to get coverage in any of these areas.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate, but that's kind of the name of the game right now in home and auto. And then, of course, liability. I mean, everyone on this call should know umbrella liability is one of the cheapest, smartest coverages that you can get. You want to get enough. You want to understand the exclusions in there. And then you want to make sure that you're not doing things that risk losing your coverage, like getting speeding tickets, for example.
Yep. So putting some numbers to this, average number of billion-dollar disasters, 20.4 annually versus 8.5 annual events in 1980. So obviously just with inflation, the value, real estate, everything going up, but then that combined with large weather events, deductibles up 24.5% from 24 to 25, which is crazy. Since 2000, Florida alone has had 36 different presidential disaster declarations. Last 7 years, over $300 billion of damages alone. And then, like you mentioned, from 2018 to 2023, insurers have canceled over 2 million homeowner policies, 4 times the number that would have been expected over that same time period. So that leverage that people think they've got is gone, and now just keeping insurance is sometimes a win.
And by the way, that first statistic, 1980, I was around. I don't think you were around in 1980.
Oh.
Yeah, so 2023, you were definitely around. So I guess we could attach blame to whomever, but
yeah,
when my age group was in charge, we didn't have this problem.
Yep. There you go. Well, I think neither of our age groups are in charge. I think my grandma's age group is in charge. All right, let's talk through commercial insurance. So a few things here. Cyber is a huge one we see. The cyber market is really growing. It's up 16.3 billion, projected to grow to 29 billion by 2027. We're seeing a lot of sophisticated phishing, spear phishing techniques. I know now we've rolled out across our entire organization training, and we actually are trying to phish our own employees as part of our proactive implementation here. But it's really important because there's $10.6 billion in premiums being paid in North America for cyber insurance alone. So data breaches up 10% with an all-time high of $4.88 million. Ransomware attacks. Business interruption accounts for 51% of cyber attack costs. And the average ransom demand was $600,000, generally in crypto or Bitcoin, right? So it's not traceable. And so retail, manufacturing, and healthcare are the biggest industries getting targeted. So we're seeing every single year, we have entrepreneurs that fall victim to ransom attacks, to cyber attacks. So we're pushing all of our clients to get cyber. It's on our list to make sure that they get it done, but it is expensive and it is only going up in cost.
Yeah, and when you think about like Caesars Entertainment a couple of years ago got
that was a good
shut down, and they were checking people in by paper and pencil, and all the one-armed bandits, as they would say, all the slot machines and everything were down, and it was costing them millions and millions of dollars, and they had ransom that was. They paid ransom, I believe, in that deal to get it to stop.
I think so. And if you do, you got to tell the FBI about it too, and you got to justify why you're paying ransom. It's a headache.
And if these big companies like Caesars Entertainment can't be safe, can we really be safe?
Yeah.
But I know that we spend lots of time and energy and money focused on this, and a lot of entrepreneurs, I think, are still lax in this area.
Yep.
Not just about the insurance, but also having the security in place to try to prevent these things from happening, which it used to be that they would only go after the big companies. Now they're going after any company.
Anybody. Yeah, yep. Fraudulent wires and all that kind of stuff. And I remember about 5 years ago at the space, it was more of if you have like two-factor authentication, for example, then you get a discount on your cyber. Now you don't even get underwritten unless you have two-factor rolled out across the board. Yeah. And I know there was an entrepreneur who just their CFO got hacked. They got into their email. He did not have two-factor authentication turned on. Took control of his email and started rerouting invoices directly into, so they thought that he was embezzling once they finally figured it all out. And then little did they know that he got on an unsecured network while at a hotel, and that's where they traced it back to. And then whoever was in there, ransomware, sat in there for 6 months before they took control of his computer.
Wow.
And then started sending emails out and started moving money around.
Well, if I'm ever accused of embezzling, that's what happened, just so you know in advance, because I would never do that.
All right, well, next chart we got here that we're going to put up here is just the average rate change year over year based down by coverage types. We got commercial property up 3.6%, business interruption, casualty, auto up 5 to 25%, depending on where you're at. Huge increase in liability there. We got the excess umbrella, cyber. You see 1.7% there. Workers' comp flat, and then D&O, and then EPLI 1%. So across the board, it is going up 3% on average. But again, there's nothing in our world getting cheaper. Everything's just going up and to the right.
No, and it's so important. I mean, I talked to an entrepreneur recently who said he has no business insurance.
That's scary.
He's doing about $1 million EBITDA a year. I go, how can you have no business insurance? I don't know. I know I need to. Well, yeah, you better soon, because once something goes wrong, you can't get it after the fact.
Yeah.